Hello. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to show you some of the secrets of Montpellier. Montpellier is a city in the south of France, in case you didn't know. And normally when people make YouTube videos about Montpellier, they have a tendency to show the middle of town, which I've done a few times, to show the comedy, the opera, l'Arc de Triomphe, the statue of Louis XVI, and so forth. But actually Montpellier is a very green city. It used to have a bit of a reputation for being a concrete jungle, but one of the big advantages of living here is that we have a green council, a green mayor. It's one of the few, maybe the only city in France that actually has one, which means we have things like free public transport, loads of support for cycling, and protection of green spaces, one of which you can see behind me. It's not all just buildings and streets. Here we're about 10 minutes literally away from the middle of town. This is actually a council site. This is the Hôtel de Département for Hérault, which is the department within the région, the region Occitanie. And I just really wanted to show you a side of Montpellier that people don't often see. Montpellier is actually the fastest growing city in France, so if you haven't heard much about it up to now, you probably will. My wife showed me a Guardian article. The Guardian's a British newspaper the other day, which compared it to Berlin. There's lots going on here, loads of art, loads of action. It's pretty cool. So anyway, I'm just gonna show you this walk, which we do pretty regularly from the house. We're about 5 minutes from the house here by foot, and hopefully you can see that it's actually a really, really nice place to live. This building, I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's a council building. They have concerts here and stuff. But all of these grounds are open to the public. You can come in here any day. It's actually Sunday today, Sunday afternoon, which is why there are hardly anybody here, thankfully. And yeah, you can just walk around and there's no one here to bother you. There's no security or anything. All of the gates are open. It's a pretty trusting place in terms of making sure that there's sort of quality of life for people that live in very dense areas. So yeah, this is the Hôtel de Département, you can see behind me, and you can see pools, etc, etc. This stuff is constantly being worked on. All of these trees are new. We moved here in 2018 and all of this stuff has been like reworked. In fact, when we first moved here, I don't know if you can see this behind me, but it says Alco. Alco is like I said, is the quartier where we live, the neighbourhood, and all of the council buildings over there, all of the office blocks were in the process of being built, so it's all finished now. So I'm going to go over the other side to the Parc Malbosc. It's really lovely over there, and I'm going to show you some views of some of the less privileged areas of Montpellier. There's one called Rapide, and there's one called Morson, or the Les Eaux de Massin, so I'm going to show you that. So walking over the roads, because we live in the north of Montpellier, we're right on the edge of the city. Even though Montpellier is growing really quickly, it's very sort of densely populated in the middle. These are the ring roads that run over the north. There are a lot of schools around here, obviously, because a lot of people live around here. Again, you don't really see this much. If you search for Montpellier on YouTube, you're never going to see any of this. So, like behind me there, that's a college, which is a secondary school, François Rabelais. Behind me this side, that golf ball thing, that's a lycée. high school, if you like. You call it, what do you call it in British English, a sixth form college. That's where people go when they finish their brevet, which is the exams they take when they're 15. They do 3 years at lycée before they maybe go to university. So we're coming up to the Parc Malbosc, but we're coming up right onto the edge of the Montpellier city limits. I'm not sure if you can see this behind me. See, there's a black and white tower there. That's one of the poorest areas in Montpellier. That's rapide. I think they're knocking that tower down. Actually, like a lot of these places are being redeveloped to make them a bit more livable. And now we're effectively in the country. I mean, obviously we're not, but you may as well be. And you come cycling down here, you know, it's pretty much like doing mountain biking on a sort of small scale, but still, you can really get out of the city very easily. The tram near here, there are several. There's Moisson, Medicine, all very close to here. So Montpellier is kind of the best of both worlds. You get this really artistic centre, which is very heavily populated, like a lot of cultural stuff going on. And it's really easy to get out and get away from it and just sit in peace. The town management does pay a lot of attention to like quality of life. I think things have changed a great deal here in the last sort of 10 years or so. It's a really, really nice place to live, you know. I'm just going to walk down here. I'm going to show you some of the allotments that are here, which some of them are really pretty amazing, to be honest. Because we live on the Mediterranean, we have the Mediterranean climate. It's really easy to grow grapes, tomatoes, courgettes, all the good stuff. Aubergine, melons, don't know. Really good for grapes, I do know that. There's a large section of this park is actually reserved for allotments. And there's another massive section of it over there, which again is gardens, so that if you do happen to live in an apartment, which is most people, you can still, if you're lucky, get access to these allotments. Yeah, you can see behind me there, these gates. All of these places behind here are just full of vegetables, basically. But they're actually quite large gardens. I don't really want to sort of go poking my camera in there. I think there are people actually working in there. Oh, hang on, here's one. It isn't completely walled off. You can see over here as well, all of that is allotments. That's all for growing food. There's a huge program to get people to grow food in Montpellier. And that means obviously family gardens. This is the second side, the other one's behind me on the other side where we first came in. See there, people growing gourds. Really lovely. The whole sort of like green ethos kind of extends to housing as well. All of the new housing, or most of it, is very low impact, very sort of sympathetic to the environment. These behind me are compost bins, so this is a really heavily populated area, but because of the politics of the mairie, you would honestly barely know that you were in like a really heavily populated area apart from the cars. You know, they plant a lot of trees all the time, pretty much everywhere. I know you can see behind me all of these trees are new. So this space, this field behind me, there were plans to build on here not so long ago, and there was like a popular effort to stop it, and it did actually stop it. They've abandoned the plan to do it. Just behind me on the road, which is the road I walked up on originally, the idea was to build flats here. Again, like this space is really heavily used by the community for dog walking, playing. You know, the kids run up and down here. That building behind me is another school, and yeah, like enough people signed a petition to get it stopped. I don't want to labour the point, but obviously this area, and especially like Montpellier, is extremely left-wing. Environmental issues really do come high on the list of people's priorities. Not everyone, of course, but for example, I think in the last election, Montpellier voted for Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who's the communist presidential candidate. So if you're into climate action, extreme left-wing politics and so forth, then Montpellier is a pretty great place to be. I think that's kind of it. I want to show you some secrets of Montpellier, which I think more people should probably know about, because when people think of Montpellier, they tend to just think of beaches and universities and the Arc de Triomphe. And it really is a lot more than that. There's a huge sense of community here, which is supported by the politics of the people that run the place. I hope you like what you've seen. I'm going to show you some more. There's a lot more to see. In fact, there are loads of other green spaces, and also in the centre of town there's a ton of stuff which doesn't normally get put into YouTube videos or really get broadcast outside of the city itself. It tends to be a lot of the messaging, really does tend to be sort of education focused. There are a lot of Montpellier is really famous for its universities and its Clan d'école, but living here is actually like really amazing. Like, if you're into the idea of having kind of the best of both worlds in terms of city and country, urban planning, low impact housing, agriculture, water conservation, public transport, blah blah blah, then it's a pretty great place to be. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.